Amanda. Okay. Trying to see how this remote works with the presentation. Oh, I don't care. This would be like a preview, a horrible, horrible preview. All right. Let's see. Getting oriented to the whole thing. Nice. Okay. Sure. For those of you who just joined, hopefully you can hear me. Please feel free to let us know in the chat. Did you hear it, Katie? That looks like we're connected, so do you want to click over to the chat to see if anyone has responded? Can you just send it to anyone on the channel, Jennifer? Oh, okay. Bill's here. Okay. Hi, Bill. I don't know if you can hear us or not, but if you can, feel free to put something in the chat. All right, we're just about ready to get started, guys. Just give us one more second. We're making sure that the online people can hear us.
Okay, can you talk again?
All right, can you hear me? Testing, testing. I need to go somewhere else so you can try it. The mic's up and everything.
Yeah. Okay, everything's up.
Yeah, can you hear me? I'm gonna go over here. Katie, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Testing, testing.
Can you comfort us? I'll see if she can.
Testing, testing. Hi, Diane. Is the muted mic with the cross the reason that it's not working? You see on the picture?
This?
Oh, I heard
No.
that. I just heard something.
See, now it's muted, and now it's not muted. So it's picking you up. That's your tag.
Okay. Well, let's give it a go.
Want to start?
Yep.
Okay.
Maybe you can chat and just say if anyone has having trouble, we'll get with you guys soon. So that sounded like you went to the speaker.
Yes.
Okay. All right, guys. Thanks for bearing with us for a minute. We're just trying to make sure that the mic's going through to those folks online who are listening. And if anyone is available online who is willing to to respond, please feel free to let us know that you can hear us or can't. Otherwise, we're going to get started here in a moment. Okay. So thanks again, you guys, for coming in. I think I know everyone in here, so I won't go through introducing myself. But part of what we're hoping to do today is to kind of make this an engaging piece of a discussion that's something that's a little bit tricky to talk about, which is information security and internet security, as well as answer any questions that you guys might have about the new policies that were implemented over the last few months, because there has been some pretty substantial changes, and I totally understand that. So if you guys aren't aware, I was recently appointed as a permanent director of IT, and so I am owning these policies wholesale, and I want you guys to be very understanding of this. We didn't make these choices lightly, and so today we're going to hopefully cover the context about why these certain choices were made, and uncover some of the software that we have used to kind of facilitate our discovery of how we can be more secure as a campus. Katie, could you please close off those right pane WebExes? Throwing off my PowerPoint, I spent all this time on. Okay. So the first thing I kind of want to talk about a little bit is information security as far as Centralia Colleges goes. We actually have quite a bit of things that we have a lot of responsibility for overall that we're kind of stewards of as a campus. And learning my little piece here. This is basically talks a little bit about what exactly it is that we are protecting here as a campus and why it's important. So when I talk about protection, really what I'm talking about is the whole IT infrastructure. And this is soup to nuts. So it starts off with the workstations and servers. You guys are all familiar with what we're talking about there. You put antivirus on your computers to keep you protected. We put a lot of sophisticated tools like antivirus software and malware protection, firewalls in place to protect our servers. In addition to servers, though, when we talk about IT infrastructure, we're also referring to this piece over here of the wired and wireless networks. You guys may know that most of the infiltrations that happen into a network of some sort will happen over an internet. Okay, it'll happen over a network. People will be coming in from China, or they'll be coming in from Russia, or potentially from your own computer lab. And so we have to harden those networks as well. All right. The third thing that we have to protect here at IT is our student identity and protection of classified and very sensitive data. Okay. FERPA data is one thing, but even more so than that, we have a lot of identity theft prone data here. So your addresses and telephone numbers and your personal information, all of those things are important for us to protect too. So there's a lot of data out there that we actually have to lock down and protect. And finally, we want to make sure that when you do access the internet and cloud services, that you're accessing in a way that doesn't put you or your equipment in danger. Okay? So for instance, you're connecting to a website from this campus, we want to make sure that you know that that website is safe so that you don't lose your identity by having something be put on your machine that's going to start keylogging you or something along those lines. If you guys think a lot of this stuff is kind of sci-fi or just for TV, I'm hoping by the end of this presentation you will find that this isn't actually something that's in any way, shape, or form a fantasy. These are real threats that we see every single day, and IT is very diligent about fighting every one of them as best we can. So this is kind of an overview of our IT infrastructure, and it covers more. We have things like our software, our printers, and our other peripherals and things, but these are the big ones, the high-risk vectors, or what we call surface attack areas. Let's kind of cut back to the main part of the presentation, if it works. Use the mouse. Thanks. All right. New tech, got to test it out. All right, so how do we kind of protect this stuff? Well, part of what we're working on is identifying what we need to do and how we're going to do it as part of these internal audit processes that we've been working on, since I've been kind of put into this role. So we're going to talk a little bit about these processes real quick and kind of where this led us down to where we're at today. So from 2017 to 2018, we're really focusing on who does what, okay? Who does what? So what users do what things with what computers, what kind of levels of access do they need. We also want to know who our users are on this campus network. So we need to know if it's the students, if it's a business user of the Centralia College, if it's an employee. We also want to know what are our risks. Are we getting attacked? Do we have risk vectors that we know about or don't know about? And those things take discovery. If you didn't know your house was being broken into until you walked in on the person sitting in your house stealing your stuff, you probably didn't think to take any advantages, but I can guarantee you're going to think about taking that step to protect your house after that moment when you see the cat burglar in your house, okay? So we needed to figure out what our risks were, and to do that, we had to do some discovery processes. We also have a very high need to keep our services up. I promise you, only time we ever hear from most of the campus is when something's wrong. And when we have something wrong, we hear a lot of it, okay? So as an example, when we were unable to send email through the phishing attack that happened, we got a lot of calls on that, okay? We were out for over 2 weeks. So this is kind of a big deal for us to keep our services up. It's not that we don't love talking to you guys. It's just that our job is to keep the services up so you guys can keep doing your job, okay? And finally, we have this other kind of need for identifying some of our issues here about compliance. Compliance is a scary thing in IT. Fines happen all the time, okay? And these fines are seldom just a couple bucks, you know. We've had several colleges be fined for things like licenses or for violations on a regular basis. So it's not like this is unheard of, and even in our network. Some of these licenses, I believe Peninsula got fined, I think $300,000 recently for software violations. These are regular occurrences, okay? And the software companies do make quite a lot of money when you're out of compliance. And so we want to make sure we stay within compliance. And that's been a major part of our work in 2017, 2018, as far as our internal audit processes, okay? Now, the way we do these processes is kind of a strategy. And so we have to take a look at what we want to audit and how we're going to audit, and then how we're actually going to get this done. And so we'll first start by talking about the rules about compliance, because this is the trickiest place that is most difficult for me as the director to kind of deal with. Because it's easier for me to say, okay, we're to stop the hacking. It's harder for me to say, okay, you can't play Pandora or something like that, okay? Because it's not really a security thing, right? So these are the compliance laws, and I chunked them into 3 main categories. The federal categories, which are the big ones, our state categories, which are equally large for us, and finally our kind of local, which is the K-20 network and the state board, okay? So basically we have these compliance levels across all levels of this organization, and in particular in IT. So we'll start with the nasty one. I know it's a lot of words, but this is a very small amount of words compared to the actual legislation related to this thing called CLIELA, okay? This is the Communications Assistance for Law Enforcement Act, otherwise known as the wiretapping bill, okay? This allows federal agencies such as Homeland Security or the FBI to physically access internet access points for the purpose of law enforcement surveillance. Now, in 2006, the CLIELA Act was modified to include internet broadband and VoIP traffic right here, okay? At that point, networks like ours became CLIELA, basically, we had to accommodate CLIELA, all right? There's a couple of ways that we could do this. We could implement security endpoints, where we basically let the feds come in and wiretap our network, and it costs us money for that. We actually have to install stuff on our routers, and this is a requirement. Or we can try to shoot for exempt status, which makes a little bit more sense, because higher ed overall, we should be exempt overall in this type of a network. But because we're not really a private network here, which is one of the rules for exemption, we had to make that change, okay? So networks, according to CLIELA standards, are exempt from electronic surveillance rules, not exempt from the surveillance itself, mind you, just the rules, if they meet 2 tests. 1, they must be private, and then 2, the institute must not support the internet connection. In other words, we must not be the ISP. We must not generate the internet traffic and make profit from it. Well, we get our internet connection from the K-20 network. So that first standard's okay. The second thing wasn't so okay. The private part. Now, private is one of those kind of weasel words. What really is private? I can tell you what wasn't private when I took this job on as director was posting of our wireless information all over this campus and letting the neighbors have access to it and letting everyone else have access to it 24 hours a day. That is not private, okay? There's no way I could have, in good consciousness, said we met this CLIELA standard, okay? There's just no way. And I think that most of you guys would agree with that, right? Maybe not. Maybe you would. I don't know. It's not private. Just because we put a password lock on the internet doesn't make it private when you give everyone the password, okay? It just doesn't work that way. So in order to preserve our ability to have to spend a lot of money to put software and hardware equipment on our network, on our ASAs, already expensive, very expensive firewalls that cost a lot of money, to be able to modify our equipment here, our facilities, to facilitate a federal wiretapping law so that they can come in case someone on our network does something dumb like threatens the president, we shoot for exempt status. It's a cost savings, okay? And it's also, in my opinion, a much more of a prudent, judicious move than just saying, okay, forget it. We're going to let this be open internet, but we're going to make sure that we spend all this money on our infrastructure to establish that we can actually facilitate CLIELA. Because if they come into me and say, who made the threat, I should be able to tell them. That's the point, okay? Or they should be able to find it easy enough through their own means of eavesdropping. Now, I'm not a huge fan of this type of thing, and I know many of you probably aren't either. But this is a law that supersedes anything that I personally have an opinion about. This is related to Homeland Security, okay? This is something that we just simply, as American citizens, we just have to accommodate. If you don't like it, you guys know how to vote, okay? But this is the CLIELA standard, and I know it's a lot of words. You can Google CLIELA, and there's lots and lots of stuff on there, and including a lot of good articles from EDUCAUSE, which is one of a pretty good resource for us as educators related to how higher ed fought this. And this really was the best choice, was to try to make them all private networks and become exempt status. So this is the road that I took as a new director to be able to try to lock down our network. Any questions about this? I know it's a big, nasty slide. Okay. All right. So the next one I want to talk about is the state. This is not as nasty of a slide, but it's a very nasty document. It's a 33-page beast out of the OCIO, in particular Policy 141.10. This thing talks about everything it takes to be compliant as a state agency when it comes to your IT and internet infrastructure, okay? I only listed a few required elements. This ones I thought were of some particular interest. First one is restriction of service to authorized users only. Well, again, back to the wireless. Our students are authorized users, right? Okay. How about the students' parents? Yes, no? I don't think so. I mean, if they pay tuition, maybe. How about the contracting crews that are out here on campus doing work for us? Are they authorized users? If we authorize them, if we say they are, they are. We have that ability as a campus. We can say, sure, you guys can have access to the wireless. We give them guest accounts, right? The guest networks, okay? So restriction of services to authorized users only. And this includes computers, networks, software, computer labs. Okay. Okay. Second thing that I kind of wanted to point out here was authentication and encryption of wireless traffic. So this was the second kind of controversial move that I did, was cutting the student wireless over. And I get that, but now we can authenticate into wireless, which is an OCIO standard. A big deal, okay? And encryption kind of comes along with that. We want to make sure we're standards compliant on that piece, and of course moving our staff away from the student network into the BlazerNet staff network. It really is the same network, you guys, just so you know. It's all the same pipe. We just have it broken out for organizational purposes, okay? But it's really just the same internet. We don't have special internet for us and special internet for the students. And we'll talk about that if you guys want. Implementation detection, a very important thing. Or implement detection, sorry, prevention and recovery controls in case we get nailed. Basically, we want to be able to find out who's been on the network and doing what with it. Not that we want to actively monitor, but in case we do get a hack or a bomb threat or something crazy, we should be able to find out who did it. If we can't in 2018, considering the surveillance, there's probably a hole there, all right? Finally, we want to stop malicious code and many other things related to 141.10. We are obligated to this. If, for instance, we get hacked with our state equipment and they do something like, say, burn up a server, well, who paid for the server? I didn't, out of my pocket. It probably came out of a combination of taxpayer dollars and student tuition. In the end, it's state-funded equipment. This is a resource that we have an obligation to protect, and IT, as a steward of the state of Washington, we have to prevent these types of infiltrations into our network. And there's a lot more. Like I said, there's 33 pages. Feel free to Google OCIO 140.1.10. The read is exceptionally thrilling. All right, finally, K20. This one's kind of the easiest one to comply with because it's really loose. And the reason I put this one up is we have what's called acceptable use policy and adopted or authorized use policies. So basically, what is educational purpose? The K20 network is our educational network that says we can use this stuff with an educational purpose. However, the definition of that kind of defined by us. But here's what isn't educational purpose according to the K20. We can't really use it for political or religious advocacy. Fair enough. Okay. We can't really resell it or use it, which is a good thing. You know, we're not a profit center for internet. Finally, the transmission of obscene material. That's one of the sticking points for K20, and it's an interesting thing. They work through K20, so we're dealing with not just higher ed here, but children as well. And quite obviously, we certainly don't want to facilitate that kind of thing at the K-12 level. But at colleges, there's a slightly different definition over that word obscene, and material even. So our college personally, and I'll show you what we've opted to do according to our executive management team, and when we talked about this at that meeting, what our options were, so I can show you exactly what we're filtering out, which is nothing currently as a campus. So we have zero censorship, mind you. Now that may mean we're not quite in the line of K-20 compliance, but that's okay, because we have the choice of really looking at what is educational use. So if we need to show, say, something that might be considered obscene by some folks, but not by all, I think we still are okay there, and I think that we have no problem showing compliance in that lane. If you're interested in this, again, K-20 acceptable use college is a Google term I would recommend, and it's a really short read. This is 1.5 pages. All right, any questions on compliance, guys? Good. Okay, so now we know what we're protecting. We know how we're doing with our internal audit processes, which we're working on and continuing to develop as a campus, and we know about the big oversight and compliance. I want to talk about what exactly it is we're protecting ourselves from. Okay, and this is one of the trickier things to talk about because the threats can come in from a lot of different places, but these are the ones that currently we've implemented processes that we feel very strongly we're safe against right now, okay? So these are successes, what we can feel are successful. The first one is this thing called phishing with the PH, and phishing is a nightmare for us in IT, okay? A single click on a malicious link in an email spread throughout our entire campus, causing a 2-week outage of email. Now, it didn't break our email servers. Our infrastructure was fine. What it did is we started spamming as a campus en masse the rest of the internet, which caused the rest of the internet to say Centralia College is not a safe place to receive emails from. So they blocked us, or what they call blacklisted us. Now this happens. This isn't an uncommon occurrence. It happens because people click phishing links, okay? So how do you stop that? Well, unfortunately, training is never enough. Shaming is never enough. Okay, you can try both, but I promise you, it will only work for that one individual, and then someone won't even think about it and be like, wow, it looks like a legitimate email from IT. Click. Before you know it, the entire address books just got that email, and now it's propagating through the network, okay? Training and shaming are never enough for this, okay? Phishing exploit got triggered. The same exploit got triggered by 7 total staff members and caused a huge amount of frustration for users. I was getting calls. My emails to UW are getting bounced. I can't get anything through to my person I'm doing business with. The college over here, like say Whatcom, wasn't able to receive our emails. This is a problem. We do business, right? We don't do this business with us. That was a very frustrating moment and something that really revealed the vulnerability of our systems, was that phishing, that one simple click. One simple click. We tried to train it out of people. It didn't happen, okay? We did. We implemented SANS training last year. Everyone should have taken it. Didn't matter, because clicking a link is something that we just do. It's reflex almost, okay? So we need a bigger, better way, a stronger way to support this, this fix. which we'll demonstrate in a moment. The second one is this thing called command and control. This is a worse thing than phishing, okay? This is a really nasty piece, and this is an easy one. It's something I've kind of identified has been on our students. Our students got lots of problems with their home devices by connecting to our network, in particular botnets, okay? What a botnet is, imagine every one of you guys have a computer, and then at one moment I press a button, and then every one of your computers activate at the same time and starts doing stuff, whatever I want it to do. You're all little bots, basically. Every computer that's got this virus or this malicious code on it can be activated at the same time. Things that have happened, takedown notices, or what's called the DDoS, DDoS, the distributed denial of service attacks. It's where a bunch of computers start to hammer a website at the same time, and they take it down. Now, that's a really innocent use of it. There's worse things that can happen, like more phishing, or more botnets, or a profit motive, like crypto mining. You guys have heard of Bitcoins? Those Bitcoins get generated by computers running processes to create them. And a very popular thing to do right now is put viruses on people's computers to turn every computer in the world into a Bitcoin mining machine. An interesting fact on Bitcoin, right now, currently, in 2018, the amount of power used by computers to mine Bitcoins exceeds that of the Netherlands. This is an interesting little fact. So even though we've got antivirus software deployed, even though our lab machines are safe because we've got them deep frozen, these exploits were still getting through, okay? And I've got logs to prove it after we got some software installed to show us the logs. Nothing on our campus machines, though, just the students, but through our wireless. Finally, there's the other category. There's lots and lots of malware out there. You guys have probably gotten it on your machines before. These annoying little things that have pop-up ads and all of the stuff that slows down your computers, well, that's considered malware. We had found tens of thousands of exploits the first month when we actually dropped logging software on our computers. That's a pretty big number when you think about it, okay? It's quite a big number, including the crypto mining software. It's very, very popular right now. Many of these types of malware are meant to capture and send personal information. It's identity mining, okay? Some of this stuff is meant to access private files, anything that they can get at, okay? Again, antivirus is pretty effective, but it's one layer. We want to be careful about having multiple layers because they do not necessarily stop them all at any given layer. So these are the things that we're really kind of concerned with right now about stopping. We've done a pretty excessive job. And so I want to talk about that real quick, which leads us to the controversial or semi-controversial policies that I put into place for IT. Namely, the first one here, students signing into their email with their wireless, okay? This choice, as I think you guys got an idea on through the policies, the OCIO policies, and CLIELA, we kind of had to do. The second big piece that we did is we removed the wireless access anonymous. So we got rid of guest networks. Unless you call into IT, we can spin one up for you, right? We got rid of the ability to kind of masquerade yourself on our wireless network, okay? Another really big thing. And finally, we installed some very aggressive endpoint protection software, and that is the Umbrella, Cisco Umbrella's tool. This particular software, I think you guys will find, is quite impressive. So these are the things that we're taking in 2017 and so far in 2018 to secure us, and they've been very successful. So if we look at our impacts, what I want to show you guys is that we've had Umbrella. This is related to our Umbrella software, which is probably the controversial software that allows me to apparently tell who's doing what on campus. At least that's the rumor, okay? Many of you guys probably heard that people were watching Netflix on campus, okay? This is how I found out about it, is this tool. I'm going to show you what I can see so we demystify this. I can't see who you are. That's the first thing I want to be very clear about, okay? Well, I can find out who you are. It just takes a little more forensic work. It's not a quick button click. So here's the total picture of what we've seen since we launched Umbrella. This is a 3-month piece. I know some of this stuff may not make a lot of sense, so I'm just going to kind of step through this very quickly. These prevent categories are different types of exploits. We didn't bother to turn off crypto mining because I'm still trying to do an investigation on where the impact is. It's not currently installed on any campus computers. These are our current exploits. So as you can see, malware is way up there, but so it's potentially harmful. Now, potentially harmful is basically could be a brand new website that no one's ever seen. It could be a lot of different things, all right? The one I really care about, though, are the contains. These are the big ones. So since we launched this tool, we've contained 5,075 phishing exploits. That's a large number considering one stopped us for 2 weeks. I want you guys to think about that, okay? Now, the way it did this is that when you get a link in your email, it will literally stop you from clicking on it. It will say, sorry, this site's blocked by Umbrella. So I don't know if any of you guys have gotten that message before. I'm glad. I'm sure students have started to get them. Literally, when you click the link in the email that's a malicious link, it will say, this is a bad link. This is a malicious link. This link has been stopped by Umbrella. Okay? And it will prevent it from firing off. So it's a prevention measure. Now, they only know that it is a bad link because of this crowdsourced information. The whole internet uses basically anyone who's subscribing to this system or another system called OpenDNS can optimally put in bad links. And they get put into a repository that's then shared through all of these pieces of software that are installed so that we all share the same big repository of bad links. Okay? That's how we can tell right away as a community what are the bad links. In the same way that Centralia College got put on the blacklist, the bad links get put on this blacklist. And anyone who's using OpenDNS or Umbrella or similar types of products can protect their endpoints of their users from clicking on this stuff, okay? And really it's about that prevention. So while the training and the shaming didn't work, this worked. This worked. This stopped them from clicking the link, even though that they knew that 5,075 people knew it was probably a bad link. They clicked it anyway. Umbrella did not let it exploit our network. We have not had a phishing attempt, a successful phishing attempt since the last one, before Umbrella, so in February, whenever that last one was that we had. So this is the current state. This is a nice big number I love. Almost 180 million requests have been served through our network in 3 months. Do you guys have any idea? That's a lot of service. First month we launched. The first month, 5,034 exploits stopped. Now the reason I wanted to give the first month is because this is before all the security stuff was implemented. This is what the picture was when the Wild West of Centralia College's information systems infrastructure, okay? So we prevented in our very first month of Umbrella, February through March, we prevented over 5,000 phishing exploits and a number of others, okay? And we still service 56 million successful requests. So 5,000 stopped. Now this is before, so February, March, this is before we implemented the second round of our security changes, which was the student cutover. So in April, or March, April, we cut over the wireless. This is when the students came back and we said, okay, guys, you have to log into the wireless with emails now. Phishing went down to double digits, 63, from 5,000 to 63. We were like, wow, that's a factor of, well, what, 900%, roughly? We were pretty impressed. Now, it kind of leads you to ask the question, where were these people, who's been phishing? If the students are logging in, and they have been, right, we assume for a moment that all students are continuing to use the wireless. You might say, well, maybe less people are using the internet. Well, the metric right here shows me that's not true. We had a 3 million request uptick. 58 million last month, 61 million this month. We have more people accessing the network. Now we're locked in behind a login wall. Why did the phishing go down from 5,000 to 63? Any guesses? Anyone got it? Take a stab at this. That's right. Or staff. That's right. That's right. That's our guess. Now, I was like, well, gosh, maybe this was just, go ahead, Steve. We do. In fact, when we looked at the forensics of this, because it was a crazy number, right? We're like, this is a huge difference. So we pulled the logs. Weekends and evenings, when our students aren't here, was when people were hitting these exploits. It could have been. It could have been. But I didn't look. I didn't look, to their credit. I didn't want to see which staff members were sending the phishing attempts out. But no, it's a very interesting thing, isn't it? A very interesting thing. So students are using the network successfully. Staff are using the networks right. Well, clearly there's someone out there who's not. That unknown is who we're protecting our network against, guys. Okay? Maybe this was a blip. Maybe all the hackers went on vacation in April, right? So we got a third month of metrics just to see, right? Let's just get a baseline, right? We want to make sure we know. So here's current month, April through May. We're down to 30. Down to 30, okay? I don't know. There's something to this. There's something to this. When we got 4 digits phishing one day and 2 digits phishing the next month, I'm sorry. There's something to it. And again, more internet usage. Okay? The efforts are working. Are there any determinations of this not working? Sorry, go ahead. Did you have a question, John? Those are millions. Yeah. 178 million was the aggregate so far. Yeah. The sum of all 3 of the other slides. So they've only been running for 3 months. So. No, from the month, the biggest difference was cutting over the email. And then by far, that was the biggest difference. Oh, sure. So no, we've been running a pretty steady 60 million access since we turned it on. I'll go ahead and put us back on the big one. So this is the aggregate slide again. So we're looking at 178 million total accesses over the course of April, basically the end of February 28 through May 29. There was. Yeah, we can look at that one. Well, I don't know the exact cause of where the phishing came from. What I can tell you is that we don't have those phishing exploits now. We have had an increased number of internet users. This is March, which March had spring break in it, right? So we lost a bit in March, which almost to zero. Yeah, next to nothing. Yes. Yeah, it is. They are. Well, have you ever, I know this is a weird question for non-IT people, but I've been in front of infected machines. These things are, it's like really sick people, really sick computers are really bad. Like where you literally run a scan on them, and it comes back with 10,000, 12,000 pieces of malware on them. Those are the bad machines, and I suspect that we've got some pretty bad infected machines that were possibly on our network that can't get on the network anymore. I don't know who they are out there. I don't know where they live. I don't know any other details about them or if they were malicious or not. But their machines certainly were a haven for horrible, horrible stuff. Okay, so now we're in a position now between these two changes, though. I want to be clear about this. Where I'm going with this is that we made some choices that we can clearly see made a difference on our network and have protected our network to allow us to protect our students better and ourselves and our personal equipment. I bring my phone to work. Now, I don't connect it to our network, but many of us do. Hopefully, you will find that it's a nice thing to be able to think that you can't click something nasty on your phone while you're using your phone here at work. If you happen to be logged into the staff network or something, okay? It's to me, it feels good. I don't worry so much about that annoying phishing link. And I promise you guys, I get phishing emails all the time. People love to try to hack IT people. It's a thing, okay? And I get the regular phishing reports from the campus. People send me stuff all the time. This looks like a phishing thing. Is this right? It's like, of course, good job. You know, but we get bad links all the time. The difference is now I'm not going to get impacted by it. And that's really one of the biggest benefits of this whole thing, okay? Now, in order to get those impacts, we had to kind of break some eggs, okay? And those are the things that I really kind of want to talk about. I'm going to demonstrate now for a moment the tool that we use to kind of build those great reports and the thing I can use to spy on your deepest, darkest secrets, because I know that's why we're all here. So this is Umbrella, which I'm logged out of now. So let me kind of kick myself back in. So Umbrella is a cloud service offered by Cisco. And Cisco, if you guys don't know, is a world leader in protection of routers. And they do a heck of a lot of good stuff when it comes to their overall work in IT. It's $1 billion or over $1 billion industry. And they are we are a good customer of them. We spend a lot of money with them. So I am a pretty big fan of their products. And this product in particular, I am in love with. Not because of the great details it gives me, but because it stops those phishing things without me having to do anything. I mean, that's a huge, huge thing. All right, so unfortunately, I lost my cookie. Let me go ahead and see if I can click back to get me to the right URL. There we go. Beautiful. Okay, great. I was trying to preserve the innocent on this, so I wanted to make sure that we could effectively see some of this stuff, okay? So the first thing I want to kind of show is the ability for Umbrella to give us some pretty detailed reports. So what I've got here is just a list of websites that were visited in the last 24 hours. And as you can see here, I have eliminated, there is another column here that shows the people that accessed them, or, well, not really the people, rather the account logged into, okay? Now, just so you guys know, if you're on your phone connected to the student or staff wireless, I cannot see who you are, but I can still find who you are. Does that make sense? I don't see that this is Sam Saul's phone. What I get is a wonderful other bit of technical information that would allow me to forensically find you if I had to. It would be a whole lot of pain, and I hope I never have to. But know that I can't see your stuff on your phone, okay? If you are sitting at a wired computer, such as this computer, and you're logged in with your Active Directory, it's a lot cleaner. I can see the user who's logged in, okay? And we'll show kind of a little bit about that because I'll put my stuff up there so you guys can see what I did, okay? Now, this is just showing general websites. Now, the cool thing is at any given time, I can come in here and I can say, okay, well, what are we looking at here on the internet? So I can find out what malicious websites there are. Or in the, what I actually found is a kind of a fun hobby is getting close to the end of the quarter, looking at website categories like academic fraud, just to kind of get an idea on what the students are looking at. Now, this is one of the things that Umbrella has the ability to do is facet and block out by category. So I can come in here and go, okay, we don't want to let people in here to see academic fraud websites or pornography websites or anime or anything fun at all. We have the complete power to take away all of that with the click of a button. So, for instance, I wanted to say, for instance, see websites that were looked at on our network with academic fraud. With a click of a button, I can quickly see just what's come up. Now, let's hope that nothing shows up. Oh, it's taking a long time to load. That's not good. Oh, there's a few, right? We expect this around finals time, at least in 2018. All right, so most people are looking at things like Mathway. They're looking at lots of Mathway. Chris, what are you doing to your students, man? Yeah, right? New York essays. So, I mean, so these, man, you math department, you guys got this. Yeah. So they're really, really hammering out 95 or 97 total access points on what Umbrella considers academic fraud in the last 24 hours. Okay? That's kind of a nice thing. So Robert, if he ever needs to go after a case, we have this ability for him. Go ahead, Chris. Okay. Fair enough. That's why I don't worry about what's on these things, guys. That's exactly why I don't worry about what's on these things. It may not be. It's like Wolfram Alpha, right? Yeah. Not academic fraud, but it sure solves your differential equation. Yeah. And shows steps, don't it? Yep. Okay, so a little different. So now, in this case, I just kind of showed this just to give you guys an idea on some of the filtering I can do. And it's really not too bad, but here's the categories. And we'll show a full list if we need to. So as an example, if I wanted to just get an idea on how many people were looking at pornography, do the same kind of thing. What's that? Gilbert is on there. It's a filtered number top. So we have a number of pornography. Obviously, this is something that we can kind of expect to see on our networks on a regular basis. This is very common. And it's a fight. Depending on what time of the quarter you look at with the students, it's a fight depending on which one's more. So there's a number of these things. And, of course, we don't worry about going to the sites. It's just that they're there, right? And we can stop them at any given time if we want. But we don't, all right? because we do not filter anything. Our rules are very, very specific. We have zero censorship on our network. The second piece I want to show you guys is kind of if I wanted to go look at activity, I go to activity search and I can go ahead and search, let me just search for users. Okay, so Jennifer is #1 user today. I'm going to go ahead and search for me. Oops. Now, this is something that I do not do at all. I just don't have time for this. But I can find, so this is what it looks like for me. Now, so you can see that today I've made 2,649 requests on the internet. There's my traffic. There's the websites that I looked at, okay? Most of them spent in Prezi, which was the thing I'm using to show that presentation. So at any given time, sure, I can come up here and I can look and see websites that a specific user has logged into, okay? Now, another thing I can do is I can come over here and look at this thing called cloud services, okay? The cloud services will tell you what services are on the internet that a person or people are looking at. Now, since the email that went out related to Netflix, our Netflix count has just plummeted on this campus. But Netflix right here, as you can see, just today we've had 21 identities, different identities looking at Netflix with a total of 39,000 requests. Those might include students. We don't really know. So in the end, though, we kind of leads us into this problem where I'm kind of in a particular spot. While I do not pour through, in fact, I'm still clunky around this user interface. While I do not pour through every little itty-bitty detail on this stuff, it's discoverable. All right? You saw how easy it was for me to type in my name and see the websites? So discoverability is kind of a thing with compliance, right? So in other words, if you're looking at something or doing something with the IT infrastructure that maybe you might not should be, like maybe you're watching Game of Thrones or something on Amazon Prime, or watching something on Netflix with the IT or the state equipment, and your neighbor or coworker or student or someone says, hey, you shouldn't be doing that, and they kind of get nasty with you, and they turn you in, we can discover it, okay? And discoverability is evidence. In an evidence-based culture, evidence is enough to really nail you. If you guys ever really want a terrifying read, go through the state ethics board. Take a look at their ethics violations and see what people have been nailed for and the fines. The one that really sticks out in my head is Governor Inslee got nailed for $15,000 for mentioning his nonprofit while he was at work. That's a big number. Now, granted, we're probably not going to give you a $15,000 fine. We won't give you any fines for watching Netflix on your work computer. But if someone gets kind of bent out of shape, there's a chance that a report could happen. And the report could happen that I could come back with some very damning evidence if the fact it were true. Okay? We're not actively monitoring this stuff. The pieces I watch every month are my security reports. That's all I care about. Security reports. And sometimes that might mean I need to search through a user who's got nailed or their machine's coming up bugged just to see what they're looking at. Okay? But unless someone comes to me, and someone is mostly that lady's over there in the corner, comes to me and says, hey, Sam, what happened on this machine at this time? You don't have anything to worry about us reporting out of IT. We certainly don't have the capacity or the time to sit here and monitor everything. Although we could write programs to do it too, but that's a whole other conversation, right? Okay, now are there any questions about Umbrella? This is a really powerful, this is Big Brother software, guys, I'm not going to lie. This is super, super Big Brother, okay? It's who you are, what you do, when you do it, with what device you do it, for how long you do it, but it stopped all of the exploits. Go ahead, Mike. Yes, always. Anytime you can, Mike, please send me the whole email. You can forward it to me, and trust me that I won't click it, hopefully. If I do, I hope Umbrella stops it. All right, because it could get you. Yes, please do. I love seeing phishing reports come in because it tells me a couple of things. If I have several people sending me the phishing report, it tells me the scale and magnitude of it. Because someone could be directly going after our users, just trying to nail them, and that gives me an idea. So I can start looking, and we can do some other deeper dives if we need to for IP forensics and things like that to find out where they came from and others. So please do, Mike. Great question. If anyone ever wants to see a deeper dive in Umbrella, my office is always open. Okay. So at this point, I kind of want to turn it over for questions and Julie and John to speak to these kinds of topics that are left over if you guys have nothing else for me. All right. Thanks a lot, guys. Thank you. All right. So I guess the floor is yours, folks.
take complaints essentially, and they determine whether or not to send an investigator out to investigate whatever that complaint may be, and then the board reviews that, and then they can render penalties, and the penalties are personal penalties against you. Sometimes they'll do like a $1,500 fine and then suspend part of it or suspend all of it. It depends on what the nature of the offense is. And the offenses vary, and some of them are intuitive offenses like, oh, obviously you should not be watching pornography in your office, to, ooh, I didn't know I could do that. And like somebody taking lint out of a lint trap and taking it home with them was a no. So,
So a quick question. What are most of the, do you have any idea of commonly ethics reported violations come to the authorities? Well, what's the source usually?
disgruntled coworkers. So I don't have an obligation to report an ethics violation to the ethics board. We could discipline somebody internally for violating ethics, but then I don't have an obligation to then go report it to ethics.
So what if I call the ethics
Then
on John on the dating service?
they on the Dilbert site.
On the Dilbert site, yeah, that's more.
They would make a determination on whether or not they were going to send an investigator out to determine if there was a violation or not.
And if they did send somebody out?
Then they would go through an investigation, and we would have to cooperate with them, and they would talk to the person, and then if they found there was a violation, it would go to the board to then render a penalty, potentially.
Is there guidance from the board about allowable?
What do you mean by clear?
Any, I guess.
So just using internet as an example, the rule is you can use the internet for non-work purposes as long as it's de minimis. De minimis means brief in duration, infrequent, with little or no cost to the state. They have not defined what that means in the sense of like 5 websites a day is totally fine, but 7 is not. They haven't been that clear about it. You could face discipline in your job if you're spending too much time on websites and you're not getting your work done, then it's a performance issue. But ethics is strictly looking at, are you misusing state resources? How long are you spending on that site? Are you using it to run your personal business? Are you using it to pay bills, to do your holiday shopping? What are you using the internet for? Well, if you're connecting your personal phone, I suppose, to the network.
But whether you're making money or not making money, if you're just using your phone. And what about like Pandora or things like that?
The ethics board has, so the state resources RCWs, the ethics RCWs have not changed, but the board changes their interpretation of those RCWs somewhat infrequently, but can change their interpretation. So they have said that streaming music is a violation of ethics. Whether that changes at some point, that may change. But currently, that is considered to be a misuse of state resources. But you can plug in a radio and listen to a radio in your office. That's considered venomous. So. Yeah.
I just made sure that my phone didn't connect to the Wi-Fi. Because if I'm using my phone on campus, I make sure I'm using. Oh, hello? Hello? It's not working. Oh, okay. Hi out there. So Steve, what did you say? So if I'm going to do anything on my phone, I never connect my phone to this to the network while I'm here, because if I want to listen to Pandora, it's coming through my data plan. If I want to go shopping, and this is one of the things the ethics board said, it said it's okay on your break, de minimis, to go to Amazon and browse. It's not okay to actually purchase something while you're on Amazon. So there's sort of this sensitivity about any commercial transaction taking place. So I don't know if that's guidance, but I just took that as kind of a general, maybe it's falling under like having your own business if you're buying stuff for yourself. So
Can't come into your business by going shopping with benefits. Or pay your bills.
I just want to say, thanks, Sam, for holding this. And there have been a lot of questions about this, and I think this is very clear. The other part of it is you're going to send the link out. This is all recorded. You're going to send the link out to the campus for those folks